It all started with one sentence that changed everything. "Sir, you're in the wrong seat." James Carter, a well-dressed black man in his early 40s, had just boarded Flight 782 from Los Angeles to New York. Clad in a sharp-tailored suit, he placed his carry-on in the overhead compartment and settled into his first-class seat 1A. But within minutes, a flight attendant approached him, frowning. "Excuse me, sir, this section is reserved for first-class passengers. You'll need to return to economy." James calmly handed over his boarding pass. "This is my seat." She glanced at it and hesitated, then called over another flight attendant. Within seconds, they were insisting he must have somehow gotten it wrong, and asked him to leave the seat. Meanwhile, other passengers began to watch, some shaking their heads, others recording quietly. What no one knew was James Carter wasn't just another passenger. He was the CEO of the airline. The humiliation didn't stop there. Even after James repeatedly showed his valid first-class ticket, the crew whispered among themselves, clearly doubting him. The pilot was eventually called. "Sir, please don't make this difficult," the captain said, arms crossed. "We can settle this once we're in the air." James, keeping his cool, responded, "I'll sit in economy. But no, I will be speaking to the board about this." The flight crew exchanged smirks, as if they didn't take the warning seriously. They didn't recognize him, despite being featured in the airline's in-flight magazine, just 2 months earlier. James walked down the aisle to an empty seat in coach, his heart pounding not with anger, but with disappointment. 30 minutes into the flight, something unexpected happened. A flight attendant approached James again this time, looking pale. "Mr. Carter, we didn't know who you were." The cabin had Wi-Fi. Apparently one of the passengers who had filmed the incident uploaded the video online, and it had already started going viral. A member of the cabin crew finally did a background check and their jaws dropped. James Carter wasn't just a first-class ticket holder, he was the founder and CEO of the entire airline. Within minutes, the pilot returned, clearly shaken. "Mr. Carter, I'm so sorry about the misunderstanding." But James simply replied, "Save it for the landing, we'll talk then." When the plane landed in New York, James was the first to exit, but he didn't head for baggage claim. He walked straight into a waiting black SUV, where 2 company executives were already waiting. An emergency meeting had been scheduled at the airport terminal. Within the hour, the entire flight crew involved in the incident was called in. The HR director and airline ethics officer were present. James didn't yell. He didn't have to. He calmly replayed the video and placed the crew's behavior side by side with company training videos. "You judged me based on how I looked. You assumed I didn't belong in first class because I'm black. You ignored policy, procedure, and basic decency." Then, with full authority, he said the words they never expected. "You're fired." By the next morning, the story was trending worldwide. Black CEO gets kicked out of first class on his own airline. Assumptions cost flight crew their jobs. CEO takes justice into his own hands. Silently, news outlets picked it up. Influencers spoke out. And social media exploded. But James didn't use the moment for revenge. He used it for change. He issued a public statement. "This isn't about me. It's about the many people who get mistreated every day because they don't look the part. It's about changing how we train, how we see others, and how we lead with empathy." James launched a company-wide retraining initiative and introduced new anti-bias programs across all airline departments. Thousands applauded his leadership. He turned a moment of disrespect into a movement for change. So, the next time you look at someone and think they don't belong, ask yourself, what are you really judging them on? James Carter never raised his voice. He let the facts and his position do the talking. And that's how a CEO went from passenger to power move in just 30 minutes.